Now let's talk about the pricing of electronic money systems. One thing that is common to them is they try very hard to lower the barriers to adoption. So what that means is they typically don't have a registration fee. It's free to open the account. They don't have monthly fees. There's no commitments you need to be making, and there is no minimum balance. There's no minimum required level of usage. So given all that, how do you make money? Well, that kind of forces you to go towards a transactional pricing model, which means pay per use. You charge every time the customer does something, kind of like what mobile operators do. You pay per SMS and per call. So what are these transactions? Well, they tend to be composed of three types of transactions. First, there's the cash in, which is going from physical cash to electronic money. Then there's the electronic money transfer, which we can call P2P, for person-to-person transfer, and then the conversion of the electronic money back into cash, that's the cash out. And we have to distinguish between two different types of fees. There's what the client pays, and that's money the client pays the provider, but the provider then will be paying some money to the agent, and that's what the agent gets. So this here then is the set of prices that we need to specify in a mobile money system. We're talking about these 6 fields here. So let's talk about one particular scheme to motivate this. And let's talk about M-Pesa in Kenya, a very successful mobile money scheme. This is the pricing that they had at the very beginning at launch. It's since gone a little bit more complicated. First, they went for a 0 cash-in fee. Again, under the spirit of making it really easy for customers to draw customers into their service, make it easy and free to cash in. People only start paying when they use the money electronically. Using the money electronically means, in the first instance, passing it around, and for that they set a flat fee of 40 cents. It's flat in the sense that it's the same fee no matter the amount. And that's because on an electronic transaction, it doesn't really matter what the size of the transaction is, the cost is the same. But for the cash out, the transaction size does matter. It's not the same providing liquidity on $10 than on $1,000. So they devised a step function for the cash out fee. They could have said 1%, but they wanted to do something that was easier for customers to understand. So they came up with this tiered structure that for, let's say, this tier here, which is the more common one, between $1 and $33, if the transaction size is there, then the fee is 32 cents, and it's higher for higher transaction sizes. In terms of the agent commissions, well, they just mirrored the structure here, on the cash out side, except that the agent gets a lower amount. It gets 20 cents. The agent does get paid on the deposit side, because no store would provide the service if they didn't get paid. It's the same structure, and for the same transaction size, it's 12 cents. And finally, of course, the commission is 0 on P2P because the agent is not involved. It's just the customer does it directly from their mobile phone. So you'll notice that on an end-to-end transaction, cash in plus P2P paid by the sender plus the cash out fee paid by the receiver, the total cost is 72 cents. Of this amount, 32 cents goes to the agent in their cash in and cash out. So the margin that M-Pesa makes on this is 55%. Notice this 32, which is the sum of the cash in cash out fees, equal to the customer fee on the cash out. So all the cash out fee paid by the customer goes to the agent, except that that's split between the deposit and the withdrawal side. And the margin, which is 40 cents, is essentially the P2P charge. One thing that you'll notice here is that the P2P charge is much higher than the cost. To provide the service electronically is very, very small. It might cost a cent or two, and it's even more expensive than cashing out. So why did they go for this expensive electronic money transfer price? In my view, it has to do with customer perceptions of value. Customers don't see much value in the cash in, cash out. Why are you charging me commissions for cashing in. For me to give you my money, I have to pay you, and on the cash out, for me to get my money back, I have to pay you. That seems a little bit like ransom. Whereas in the middle here, customers understand the value quite readily. What, 40 cents to send money to my grandmother up 200 kilometers away? Or 40 cents to pay a bill so I don't have to go to some distant office and queue up. So here's where the customer perception of value is, which is with the remote transaction and not with the cash in, cash out. So that's where they decided to load the price, where the customer seemed most ready to absorb that price. So here we see the advantages of this pricing scheme. One, it correlates with customer perception of value. The second advantage of this system is because we distributed the cost here for the customer between cash out and P2P with a healthy charge on P2P. That means that the highest price is 40 cents is much lower than the total cost. So this keeps the headline rates low. If you didn't charge as much here, then you would need to load it on the cash out, and that would seem then as a very high number indeed. So it just lowers the headline rate, even though it doesn't necessarily lower the total cost. But what are the disadvantages on this side? Well, there's some very clear ones. One is risk of price war, and that's because here you have a price, this one here, that is much higher than the cost of providing it, which might only be a couple cents. So a new entrant that wants to steal market share would probably attack you here, because for them it'd be really easy, really affordable to just slash this price. They're not going to attack you on the cash out fee, because if they reduce that, then they'll lose money on the cash out and they will never get the money back from the cash in commissions. But here it's just revenue forgone. It doesn't really cost them anything. The second risk is to lose a lot of money if the number of deposits is greater than the number of withdrawals. And you see that here. This arithmetic of 12 plus 20 equals 32 works well with the implicit assumption of a 1-to-1-to-1 ratio between these things. There's one cash in per P2P per cash out, and so these things wash away. But imagine that customers don't behave like that. Customers do daily deposits and only withdraw once a month. In that case, the M-Pesa is incurring this 12-cent cost every day, but only getting this 32-cent fee from the customer once a month. They're going to lose a lot of money. So if these the ratios get out of whack, there's a serious risk of losing a lot of money. And the third issue is this disincentive to keep money electronic. And that's because if I have money, it's actually cheaper for me to cash it out than it is to hang on to it and then send it to someone else. So most often I'm going to cash it out. And that's what keeps this ratio of 1-to-1-to-1 pretty much alive. So that's a bit of a problem, because essentially it becomes this is a pass-through where most transactions go all the way through. They start in cash and end in cash. And then perhaps you need to do another transaction, so you'll just cash it again. You'll cash in P2P and you're cashing it out, and you go round and round this. So could we design a different pricing scheme, one that incentivized the use of electronic money? And that's the second one that we want to look at here. And let's call this e-money ecosystem type of pricing, where we want to mitigate these risks here. So the first thing you would do is to slash this electronic charge, let's say to half, 20 cents, because remember they cost you a couple cents to provide. But let's change this pricing so as to keep the total revenue here the same. Let's do this revenue neutral. Now I need to load another 20 cents somewhere else. If I load it here, make this 52 cents, then we have this problem of the headline rate now had gone higher. Now the highest rate is 52, not 40. So let's do something slightly differently, which is let's now charge for deposits. Let's say 12 cents, and this now needs only go up to 40 cents. So we've avoided this headline rate increase at the cost of charging now for deposits. Now, this does incentivize the keeping of electronic money even more than before, because we've just increased even more the gap between keeping the cost of sending money electronically and the cost of simply cashing it out. Not only that, but because we've increased we put in a cash-in fee, I'm actually going to ask people who need to give me money, please send it to me electronically, because if you send it to me as cash, then it is going to cost me money. So you are more going towards a system of encouraging money to stay electronic once it's electronic. What that means is then when someone does a cash-in, then the money is going to circulate a few times. It's going to be passed around because it's cheaper to do so than to cash out, until someone finally has a reason to cash out, and it'll go out. That cash, then maybe someone will put it back into electronic, they'll cash in, and it's going to circulate a few times before it goes out again. So imagine under the system that this ratio now is 1 to 5 to 1, meaning that the money is passed around electronically 5 times before it is cashed out. Well, actually now we can reduce this price to 1/5. We've made 4 cents. We're going to make M-Pesa will make as much money, or the system will make as much money, because there's going to be 1 cash-in fee, but then 5 times the 4 cents as it's passed around, and the 40 cents. So now we've reduced this number to 1/10 of what it was before, which means much lower risk of price war, because this number now is much more closely aligned with cost. We're not going to lose money because now no transaction is loss-making, not even the deposits. And we certainly are incentivizing keeping of electronic money because it's 1/10 the cost of cashing out. So these negatives now become the pluses for this system. What are the drawbacks? Well, the drawbacks are these things that used to be the strengths of the M-Pesa pricing scheme. Customer perception of value is not really aligned with this pricing. Well, I mean, customers are getting a good deal at 4 cents, but they would be prepared to pay a lot more for that, sending money to grandmother up in the village, or to paying for bills. So there's not as much margin extraction from the transaction that customers really are prepared to pay a lot of money for. Which of these two pricing schemes is better? You decide.